Self-sabotage is very more common than I wish it was. Self-sabotage, yeah, like chasing emotional unavailability, internalized homophobia, um, and yeah, I think these three are the most common things that I have experienced so far with my clients.
Today on Rainbow Country, the queer subconscious mind.
Hi, I'm Christopher Rice, and this is Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.
Lonay, Halloum. Hello, hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm good, thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Am I saying your name correctly, Lonay Halloum?
It's Lonay Halloum.
From your lips to God's ears. I have to say thank you so much for being here to have your voice, your story be heard by the LGBT community and beyond. So thank you for this. You are a queer relationship coach. You are a RTT, a rapid transformational therapist. Let's start there. Rapid transformational therapist. Talk to me about what this means and what this entails, being a rapid transformational therapist.
Yeah, sure. So rapid transformational therapy or RTT is based on hypnotherapy. I actually don't like to call it hypnosis because there's a lot of stigma around that. And usually it's just like a really deep state of meditation. You're still in control and everything. But the idea of it is to relax the conscious mind more so that there is easier access to the subconscious mind. And then the mind is more suggestible to recall past memories. So we go back to the past to find out like about the root cause of whatever we're dealing with. So the presenting problem or limitation or feeling that you would like to work on. Um, so it works on the basis of so going back to the past, finding the root cause when this understanding is gained, then it's easier to let it go. Like once you understand a problem, it's easier to fix, right? Um, and then installing a new belief system. So with different tools, different methods. It's based on neuroscience because usually there's a recording afterwards with a like new belief system or like the new belief that you would like to have instead of the limiting belief that was causing the issue or the limitation and or holding you back. And this recording has to be listened to for at least 3 weeks or 21 days. And that is based on neuroscience because, according to neuroscience, for one thought to become permanent in the mind, so it becomes like part of your belief system, it has to be persistent for at least 3 weeks. And that's how the neural pathways are formed because every day there's like maybe thousands of neural pathways formed from each single idea. And but the mind like refreshes that and takes like removes all these temporary neural pathways overnight when we sleep. But then if there's one persistent thought that is happening every day, then the mind just keeps that neural pathway becomes permanent in the brain,
Mm.
and that's how the whole methodology works.
I've heard that to to do something and to have like a new you know habit or a new whatever it might be. Let's say you're working out, you have to sort of do that thing when you first start it for a certain period of time, whether it's 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever, for it to then become part of you and or part is that the same sort of thing to
Yeah,
a certain
exactly. It
degree?
is it is exactly the same thing, and that is also exactly how like the psychology behind advertisements work. So when we see all these billboards and online advertisements and we keep seeing it over and over again, then even if we are annoyed by this advertisement, but when we go to the store and we spot it, we're like, oh, this is it. Like, this must be good because it became part of our kind of belief system, if I want to
Hmm.
have go that far with expressing that.
So I'm based in Toronto. You're based in where? In Germany?
In Hamburg, Germany, yes.
So you're based there, and your clientele is primarily members of the LGBT community. And is this something that is effective to do virtually then? When you're, say, for lack of better words, you're doing, hypnotherapy. Is it something that is effective when you're doing it virtually compared to in person?
Yes, there's no difference at all.
Mm.
So yeah, like actually I only work online and I've also done RTT therapy. Like I went to RTT therapists myself and I have done this mainly online. I actually even prefer it, especially when it comes to heavy emotional work, because usually an RTT session goes on for about 1.5 hours or maybe sometimes even 2 hours. And then there's a lot of emotions that come up, a lot of emotional work. Um, so afterwards, I was very happy that I was cozy at home and I can just go to bed and take a nap, better than being outside and having to deal with driving or public transport or whatever people use. So yeah, it works exactly the same as if it's in person.
So one of the topics that you tend to deal with is rejection, and essentially how rejection plays out in our romantic lives and our dating lives. Can you talk to me about that when it comes to rejection and how it can play out when it comes to our queer dating lives?
So I would say rejection is a sensitive topic overall, but I noticed throughout, from my personal experience, but also from my clients, that within our community, within the queer community, um, the rejection is even like a harder topic because growing up, we all like the first person who rejected us growing up was us. So growing up, we were like in denial, we were rejecting like part of ourselves, like an important part of ourselves. So when we start dating and we start like try like even after we accept ourselves, um, since we haven't really worked on the trauma that this like inner or internal rejection caused, or even outer rejection, like from the community. I mean, even if like rejection doesn't have to be very direct and it doesn't have to be obvious for someone to feel rejected, just like growing up feeling different than the people around you, feeling that people might not want you anymore. This is a very like a valid point, like form of rejection or feeling rejected. So growing up with that and having these lingering effects since our childhood, since we started noticing like, oh, maybe I'm different, um, then when we start dating or even in our like social life, then like we perceive the smallest thing as rejection. So more than others, like so we're more sensitive to rejection or anything that could be interpreted as rejection than like heteronormative or heterosexual people because we ha don't have these tools to identify uh, what is actually rejection, what is like actually should be interpreted as rejection and which shouldn't be. So even if somebody just says like, "Oh, I'm um, sorry, I cannot go this weekend because I have plans with my friends," that could already feel as rejection, um, even though it's not meant like that. But because we're very like highly sensitive to that, because of the suppression we grew up with, whether it's like internal suppression or external suppression.
So we might internalize something as being a rejection, even though the person who might say, hey, I've got plans with my friends next week, they're not rejecting us. Their intent isn't to reject us, but we may potentially see it that way, interpret it that way. Another another thing that you tend to deal with are toxic relationships, and the word toxic is such a potent word that's so used, currently in modern day times. Toxic masculinity, toxic this, toxic that. So when it comes to toxic relationships, can first of all, can you give me some examples of behavior, actions that could be interpreted as toxic? And then how do we deal with that when we find ourselves in a toxic relationship potentially? Can you give me some examples first?
Sure. One of the very, very common examples is the emotional roller coaster. So the fun ride, um, which is really hard to spot because, when you're having the highs, so when you're going up the roller coaster, and it comes in the form that this person is showering you with affection, giving you lots of love, and yeah, like being there for you. And then suddenly you have the lows, and then you just think like, oh, this is just happening now. This person is in a bad mood. They are going through a rough time. I should give them space. But actually, if this is like being repeated a lot, like if you find yourself having a lot of highs and a lot of lows, um, kind of in an equal rhythm or equal frequency, then that's one of the signs to start questioning, am I riding a roller coaster, or is it just actually just like part of life? I mean, of course, life has ups and downs, but not when there's a difference between life ups and downs. So like if you're having um like a hard time in general, but if it's kind of happening on a daily basis or on a weekly basis, that these like highs and lows, and there's like a huge difference between them. So like one day you're feeling over the moon with this person, and then the other day this person is like being very distant. This hot and cold behavior is can be one of the very telling sign, like for a toxic relationship. I mean, the person who's doing that might not be like a bad person, so don't get me wrong,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe they're going through they have their own issues they need to work on. There are stuff that they need to focus on, and they're just
But if
taking
they're
so
not verbalizing that, if they aren't necessarily saying, hey, I'm dealing with some stuff, so give me some time or give me some space or, you know, bear with me. If they're not necessarily saying that, they're just acting out, it's obviously they're a little unconscious of what they might be doing.
exactly. So, um, just like not knowing what someone is going through or going through a rough time is still not an excuse to treat people badly. Um, so yeah, so that's one of the things I would say like about toxic relationships.
And how do we deal with that then? Is it something that we leave? Is it something that we stay in? We try to manage? How do we deal with these sort of things? Because we all deal with variations of this.
Yeah, exactly. So one of the questions to ask or one of the things to observe is when you and your partner or yeah, like when you and your partner going through a rough time, just ask yourself like how they're reacting to it. Are they still being there for you even if they're going through a hard time? Are they being distant? How are they treating you? Are you are you a team when you're having a hard time, or are you just being like dealing with it on your own? Um, Another thing to observe is, yeah, like do you feel like this safety feeling? Do you feel safe with this person? Do you feel they're there for you? Because more likely than not, if you don't feel safe, or if they keep you on your toes, or you feel like you cannot say what you want to say in front of them, like you're walking on eggshells around them, these are usually signs that like then you should start questioning that. And how to deal with this then is, first of all, open communication. So always talk about if you have any concerns, anything you have like you're experiencing, you should just go approach your partner and have open communication, because also that would give you a lot of insights, like how open they are to this conversation, how they're communicating about that. That also usually tells you whether this person is like dealing with it well, or able to work on this, like even if they're not aware of that, but if they're receptive and they have a positive reaction to this conversation, then it could still be something that you could salvage. But even if the communication is being really bad, or your partner is not being receptive, then I would then start for the first while to really prioritize yourself, like do the things, say the things that are prioritizing your mental health in the first place, and give it some time, of course. Like, don't make rash decisions, because maybe the other person is actually going through a rough time. But then, and also follow your intuition. Your intuition, in the circumstances play a big role in that. So patience, communication is always key. Um, Intuition, and asking yourself and your partner the hard questions that you are trying to avoid. If there's one question that you're trying to avoid because you think it might upset your partner, ask that exact question, because it will tell you a lot of things, and it will also give you hints about how to proceed.
So, Lonay Halloum, you are a therapist, correct?
So it's more like a practitioner, so coach slash practitioner, I would say, depending on the country and regulations and all of
Mm.
that.
Well, for this next question, let's go with the word therapist.
Yeah, sure.
So, you are a practitioner, you are a therapist. When you need to see a practitioner or a therapist, who do you turn to solve your issues? Who does the therapist see when the therapist needs therapy?
That's a very good question, actually. Um, I would say therapists, or actually anybody who is working in the personal development sphere, they always have to have a therapist, because um,
You'd
you
go
need to.
crazy.
I mean, maybe yes. But I would, so depends, right? Depends on the whatever I'm feeling. So I do have like a couple of friends that they're also RTT, and then we sometimes exchange sessions if there's something we want to work on. Or sometimes I also go to like traditional therapy methods like CBT and so on. But depending on what I'm dealing with, if I feel there is something that potentially could have like a deeper layer to it, then I will go to like to a therapy method or a therapist that deals with the subconscious mind. But if I feel like there's something I'm dealing with right now, like a difficult situation that I'm dealing with right now, and I need like kind of immediate help, then I would consider something with the conscious mind. So, but the best kind of therapy, in my opinion, that I wish more people have these skills, like combine these skills, is having tools to deal with the subconscious mind as well as the conscious mind. And like so far, I haven't met so many people who deal with both and they have the expertise to deal with both at the same time. But that's why I try to combine different methods. So I go to different people when depending on the issue I'm dealing with.
So, how did you get into RTT, Rapid Transformational Therapy? How did this all start for you?
Actually, it was after a breakup. So my first relationship, the breakup, it really destroyed me. And I realized during the breakup, I realized that I'm shattered beyond just like missing my ex. It was something deeper. I felt there was something deeper I need to find out. Also, during the relationship, a lot of behaviors or reactions came from me that I didn't recognize. And I realized there are insecurities that surfaced, issues that I was unaware of. And then I started following different like coaches, therapists online, like watching YouTube videos and so on. And then actually a friend of mine, she told me about Marissa Peer, so the founder of RTT, and I started watching her videos online and it really resonated with me. And then I started buying these self-help courses from her, and I got one or two sessions from like RTT therapists, and it really changed my whole life, and I uncovered insecurities and things that I had in from my past that I completely forgot about, like consciously. And then that's when I realized, you know what, because I was always into mental health and psychology, but I didn't know what I want to follow exactly. And then when I experienced that and the effect of RTT, I realized this is my calling, and I really want to also learn that so I can also spread this method further. And yeah, that's when I like shortly afterwards, actually like a year later, I was already in the course and studying RTT.
So, when you found yourself in that relationship and then you broke up and it really, broke your heart and sent your life in a whole new direction, essentially, from where you are today, looking back on that time, how do you see yourself? Uh, are you able to the patterns that maybe you were in, that you were thinking, and the behavior that you were part of back then? Do you still do those same sort of things, but you're just conscious of when you're doing it, or stopped all that you've stopped that behavior that you know uh, maybe you were doing during that relationship, what have you? Were you able to just like stop all of that?
So
I'm not sure if I'm making any sense,
no.
but
I think I understood like the patterns I was following during the relationship or these insecurities that came up.
exactly,
Am I still doing them sometimes, but aware of them,
exactly,
or did
exactly.
they? Yeah.
Because
Okay.
for me, I truly wonder if patterns and habits and our mental issues when we are in therapy, because I've done therapy, and I truly wonder if these things go away 100%, or is it just the fact that we become aware of them, and when we find ourselves potentially in one of those patterns again, we're able to consciously say to ourselves, okay, I'm doing this, let me calm down, let me take a minute, as opposed to never doing those behaviors again. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, I totally like agree. So I would say looking back, most of like a lot of the things I was dealing with or the things that came up, they actually stopped. So now, for example, when I'm doing something and like in my current relationship, for example, like if I'm having an argument or something comes up, and then I just automatically react differently to how I was reacting in the past. But then, I still remember, like, then I surprise myself sometimes. I'm like, wow, I really reacted differently now. And then other times, like, depending on the circumstances, depending on how deep you actually worked on a certain insecurity or limitation, let's say, or trauma. And sometimes, yeah, like when it's something about to happen, then I become aware of it, and then I'm able to like step back, take a breather, and then react differently. So really depends on how deep I went with like working on each specific insecurity or each specific pattern, and also depending on the circumstances. Um, so it's very different. So there's no one answer. So yeah, exactly. So there's no one answer. And the the sad thing is like why we see a lot of like relapse when it comes to therapies and so on, or not like 100% satisfying results is because I don't know exactly why, but or like why these therapy methods are constructed this way, but a lot of the traditional therapy methods, they follow like they work with the conscious mind. No, even though like even in neuroscience, it's known that 95% like of our life or our mind is governed by the subconsciousness, not by the consciousness. So I feel like we should be working with the subconscious mind more than the conscious mind. And I think this is where this is like the gap that's like the bridging between conscious work and subconscious
Mm.
work. It's lacking right there.
And you talk about how healing the subconscious mind is a game changer when it comes to queer people and feeling stuck. So, how do you, because this is when I first read that, I'm like, okay, but then I'm thinking to myself, if something is unconscious, if you are not aware of, your patterns that you may be doing, how do you become aware of something that is invisible to you? So how do you deal with that? How do you deal with the unconscious mind and become conscious of your behavior? How does that work?
So by going back to so it depends on the person. Some people they recall memories that they remember consciously, but they when they are in this like meditative state, then they experience or remember these memories from the past from a like a deeper perspective. Um, and then some people they actually recall memories that they have completely forgotten about. So the idea is when the conscious mind is relaxed, then it is easier to recall memories from the subconscious mind because all of our memories are there. They're in our heads, even if we don't remember them. So getting into this state of meditation, this relaxed state, it helps to recall these memories. And then whether you remember these memories consciously or not, when you experience them in that like deep level or deep state of mind. And then you remember many of them. So we go back to not just one or two, so we go to three, four, sometimes even five. And there are also even more tools to go back to the past and really uncover, dig deeper and deeper, uncover everything that could be connected to the limitation that you're experiencing today. And when you form, like when you see this as a pattern, during like one session, and then you see like, oh, that makes sense. This feeling is connected to this feeling from this memory and from this memory, and it is also connected to how I'm feeling today when I'm experiencing this and that. Then when you gain this understanding, it all makes sense. So RTT is built in a way that it's tools to help you navigate your own mind to gain the understanding that you need to gain this aha moment that will help you release this limitation. So unlike so I like nobody from RTT would come to you and tell you like this is your problem and this is what we're going to work on. So maybe you come with just a feeling that you don't like that you keep experiencing or a persistent thought and you want to know why does it keep happening to you and it limits your like one or more aspects of your lives. So it could be as simple as that and then you uncover what's behind it even further.
So dealing with the the clients that you have, which tend to be, queer individuals, people that are part of the LGBT community, are there issues that come up time and time again that you see?
Yeah, so self-sabotage is very more common than I wish it was. Self-sabotage, yeah, like chasing emotional unavailability, internalized homophobia, um, and yeah, I think these three are the most common things that I have experienced so far with my clients. Yeah, and of course, like a sense of self-worth, it's also affected, but sense of self-worth, whether it comes like low sense of self-worth, it it's coupled with almost all of these, like chasing emotional unavailability, internalized homophobia, um, or self-sabotage. Yeah, so these are the main topics that I actually
Mm.
have dealt with so far.
And when it comes to your practice, how what are some of the challenges that you face when it comes to the people that you see virtually?
So sometimes I face skepticism. So because
Mm.
when people hear about hypnotherapy, then
Hmm.
they're a bit skeptical, and this skepticism sometimes it makes it a little difficult, more difficult to open up and like access memories. So I had to find certain protocols and tools to really navigate through that. So that's one of the main things. And then another thing is, yeah, just like this fear of losing control, because when also people hear like hypnotherapy and so on, then people are like, no, we don't want to lose control. We don't want anybody to control our minds. But I have to reassure everyone that it's not like the magic shows that you see on TV or something. It's just really, if you've ever done meditation, it wouldn't feel much different than that, basically.
And when it comes to your practice, what are some of the most gratifying things that you take away from some of your clients?
So I would say, basically, when when you see like someone gaining this aha moment, and you see that they're really like starting to turn their lives around, and so the main thing that I like to give my clients before finishing from my programs is like a re-established relationship with themselves in the first place, because we always tend to project outwards. So always the first thing that we need to work on is the relationship with ourselves, because if that's not good, then none of the relationships in our lives are going to be healthy or good. So when I see the way they start, like, because I always like I have this transformational journal that I give and with different sections, and then they keep tracking over the duration of the program and even beyond that. And then when we go back to it together, and and I see like also how they start talking to themselves differently, how the thoughts that come up, the challenges they face are different, and the way they deal with the challenges are different. And when I see that, and I feel like, okay, I've done my job, and it also gives me like sometimes, like like my clients share different perspectives, and it also gives me insights into my life. And sometimes it can be also therapeutic to me, even though I'm the one helping the other person, but it's kind of like it's most of the time it feels like we're helping each other actually. So I would say this is most of like one of the main things um that comes to mind when you say like when you ask me this question.
Well said, well said. Lonay, Halloum, well said, well done, well therapied.
No, thank you
thanks,
so much.
thanks for your time. Thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you very much too. And I'm really honored and happy to have this opportunity to be here. And yeah, and looking forward to maybe more collaborations in the future.